Hello and welcome to the fifth episode of Vuelogs Crosscheck Podcast. As always, we'll be talking with a new guest all about aviation, trip reporting, and of course, we're going to be testing the knowledge of planes for this new guest as well. And joining me live from Germany here is Julius.
Good morning from Frankfurt and welcome to another fly around video. In today's video I'm going to fly aboard Lufthansa's A340-600 in economy class from Frankfurt to New York.
For over 4 years now, Julius flies around the world and shares his experiences on YouTube. And over these 4 years, he has developed a unique style of trip reports. And he's grown his channel to almost 3,500 subscribers and over 1 million views. Welcome to Vuelogs Crosscheck Podcast. Fly around. Hello, Julius. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Robin. Thanks for having me. What an amazing intro about me. Loved it.
You like it?
Yeah, I loved it.
And is it on point?
It's on point. I loved it. I couldn't have done it any better.
How's life been recently over the past couple months? It must have been quite a struggle, I guess.
Yeah, it all started when I was trying to leave the United States in the end of March, and I was still in university and still had online classes and everything. But it all ended like a month ago, and since then I have a lot of free time, watching a lot of YouTube videos, trying to edit some new videos and trying to figure out what I can do, even though I'm not allowed to travel right now. So I still have a couple of videos left that I'm working on, but in general, I have a lot of free time and trying to make the best out of it.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So you lived in America, in Boston, right? What were you doing there?
So I have a unique situation, I would say. I have family living in New York and I'm going to college in Boston. So I'm pretty much in the United States for most of the year, except of the summer. And yeah, that's my situation.
Cool. I actually want to start by sharing a short clip from your last flight when you came back from the US. And I'd like to hear from you, like completely in detail, how that experience was to fly during the quarantine era right now. So I'll just share my screen and I hope that it works.
I see it.
Awesome. Cool.
But I forgot one thing. Before we enter the lounge of SAS, let's put on the mask and stay safe.
So you recently had to flee the United States because of the unprecedented times, especially going on in the United States with the virus. Can you explain me how your experience was flying home?
First of all, it was crazy already in Boston. I was in Boston and the situation was getting worse and worse day by day, and all the colleges were closing down. And then I went to New York, or I had to go to New York because all the colleges were closing down. And then I booked a flight immediately back to Europe, as I didn't know what will happen in the near future, and I just wanted to be home in an environment that I know the best, and I wanted to be close to the whole family. When I arrived at the airport, I had no idea what to expect from the situation. I didn't know how the security will look like, if everybody will wear masks already and gloves. So I was kind of bringing everything I had. I had hand sanitizer. I was wearing gloves, had a mask on. I tried to avoid I was always 3 to 4 meters away from all the people that I've seen, and I was also trying to board when no people were at the gate. So I was trying to hide from all the people to pretty much stay safe, because at that time nobody really knew what was going on, and you didn't know if you can get infected by being close to people or not. Nobody had any idea. So it was definitely scary at some point, because I also didn't know if it's affecting young people or old people or people in general. And it was definitely a weird feeling, and I was more than happy when I finally arrived back in Germany. And I was totally relieved after the 14 days that I went into self-quarantine. Yeah, it was a weird feeling, and I'm happy that finally things are getting better again in Europe and hopefully around the world as well.
So how did you notice a difference in experience flying during this time compared to what you're usually used to on a long haul flight? Because I believe that most of the flights you take are long haul anyway, so you're quite experienced there. What's the difference you see?
It all started 24 hours ahead of the flight, where TAP Portugal sent an email where they mentioned that they are aware of the situation and they cut down all the service. So on the long haul flight, usually you have around 3 meals and a variety of drinks that you can choose from. And there was nothing like that. You got a bottle of water and one drink of your choice and one meal, and you couldn't even decide what you wanted to eat. So that was different. Of course, all the crew members were wearing masks and gloves, and pretty much you were alone the whole flight, and there was no service, and you were just trying to get some sleep. And then on the shorter flight that was from Lisbon to Hamburg, there was literally no service. I was sitting in business class on seat 1A, hoping for a great flight experience, and it was just nothing. And I was just enjoying the feeling of flying. Yeah, it was pretty raw experience.
So in terms of time, I think the whole thing started around early March. Where in this time frame was this?
My flight was on March 25th, so it was in the middle of everything already.
Probably when it was hit the worst.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you feel like there was some sort of anxiety between other passengers as well?
I have no idea, to be honest, because I felt that everybody just wanted to avoid people. So nobody was talking to each other. It was just everybody, or at least most of the people were having masks on and trying to avoid people. So there was no interaction, and you could feel a tension between all the passengers. But in the end, I was lucky to sit in business class. I don't know how it would be in economy class, where you have two random people next to you and you don't know if they are infected or not. So I guess it would have been a different experience in economy class.
Mm-hmm. And then not really aviation related, but how do you notice the difference how the virus is being handled in Germany, where you are right now, and the United States?
In the United States, it seemed pretty chilled. So people were still living a normal life, and because the authorities weren't implementing as many rules, and it was kind of slow. And in the end, that's why they got hit so hard compared to Europe, because we were already, like the European countries, we had bad examples like Italy, where everything went down pretty bad. And then luckily we have a pretty good health system in Germany, so we could handle all the cases pretty good. So there was I feel like here in Europe, people were following the rules immediately, and pretty much everybody shut down their lives for some weeks until maybe this week for the first time, where restaurants are opening up again, and life is getting back to normal. But hopefully there's no second wave, and that we will be back in the air to travel again soon.
You even got a haircut, I can see.
Yeah, I used the opportunity to cut off all my hair, as you've seen in the video.
You're the first to see it here, folks.
Yeah, usually I have long hair, and you've seen it in my videos, but yeah, I use the situation because I'm not traveling, I'm not recording a lot of videos anymore, so
it's really him, it's really Julius, it's really fly around.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's go to back to America, because I think you've spent a lot of time in the United States. You've said you've got family there. I think if you look at your channel, I think at least half of your flights is somewhere between Germany or Europe and the United States.
It is. Yeah.
So is that just mainly for family visit, or what do you like about America?
I guess it's mostly because of family and friends, and also my college in Boston. So I kind of have to travel a lot, but I also enjoy flying a lot between Europe and the US to test new airlines. So whenever there is a chance, I try my best to fly again. And yeah, the situation allows it. Luckily, I can fly pretty often because I always have a reason if I wanted to. And yeah.
Yeah, that's good. How do you notice, and this is a topic that I discussed with Blake Edgerton on the podcast earlier, how do you see the difference in service level or just aviation in general between North America and in Europe?
I would say, obviously, the business class product on all the major American airlines, there's such a variety. In Europe, I mostly fly on Lufthansa, and then in business class, you just have a regular seat and stuff. And it's kind of boring compared to the US. You feel that in the United States, there's so much more competition, and they always try to satisfy the customer. Even though something goes wrong, you always feel like they're trying to make up for it immediately. And in Europe, when something goes wrong on a flight with Lufthansa, I always feel like they're trying to push it away and not help you immediately. And you feel the competition, and they're trying to be better than their competition in the United States. And I definitely enjoy flying in the US a lot. In the very beginning, I was always hoping, or people were always saying, oh, it's so cheap to fly in the United States domestically, but I experienced that it's nothing like that. But yeah.
I definitely think that flying in the US, and especially here in Canada, it's much more expensive compared to
Totally.
To Europe. Probably because there's a lot more low cost flying in Europe as well. So who is your go-to airline? I guess Lufthansa would be your go-to airline in Germany.
Back then, like when was Air Berlin? So usually Air Berlin was always my favorite airline in Europe, because they was always friendly. In my opinion, the service was better, and I was always satisfied on my flights with them. But nowadays, usually if you travel out of Germany, there's almost no competition for Lufthansa, so you always have to fly with them. So that's why they are my go-to airline, and usually they don't disappoint you. You know, they're trying to have a good service on every flight without any lack of good service. So, but in the United States, for example, I would always fly Delta, because usually they are the cheapest. I don't know why, but and they never disappoint me, except I don't know if you remember that when I was trying to fly on the Delta A220 for probably half a year and they canceled it. I was like super happy arriving at the airport, and then I got a message, oh yeah, we switched it to an Embraer 175 again. And I was stressed out when it happened all the time.
I do remember that, because we were talking on WhatsApp around that time.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna fly the Delta A220 as well, and then I got it right at the first time.
Yeah, that's lucky. I
quite
booked so many flights with them, and then never happened until the very last time.
I think that's very much the nature of being an airline reviewer. I think trying to chase the aircraft you want to fly to can be either a complete disappointment or not, right?
Yeah,
but you did eventually. You did eventually get to fly it. How was your experience?
I already knew how good the A220 is, because I was flying on Swiss probably in 2017, I guess, when they
really
had I was already excited about it, and I knew how good it could be. And then I heard they also have usually in Europe, as you know, they don't have screens in the seats in economy class and stuff like that. And also the Delta built in a real first class. And then I heard they even have a window in the bathroom and stuff like that. So I was just super excited about the flight, and it was just a quick hop from New York to Boston. So it's like maybe 30 minutes in the air, 35 minutes. But I loved it, and I hope to fly on it again.
Has that become your favorite aircraft now?
I mean, I only had 2 flights in it so far, but on a short haul flight, it's definitely the most comfortable way for flying as of right now.
What is currently your favorite aircraft for long haul?
I would say it's the A230neo, to be honest, because if you travel in the economy class, I always prefer the 242 seating compared to the 333 or 343, whatever you want. And that's definitely I was impressed how quiet it was and how comfortable it was in the end. And it was my first time on it, and I loved every minute of it.
That is fantastic. I want to talk about your style of trip reporting, because I would say that you have developed quite your own way of making videos. How would you describe your style of trip reports?
That's a good question, first of all. So basically, it all started that I saw some trip reports. I think it was Simply Aviation or other people like that who were simply recording everything, didn't put any music in it, and they had subtitles all the time. And in general, I watch a lot of cinematic videos. So I'm trying to bring in some cinematic sequences most of the time. I'm a super fan of slow motion and camera movements, and trying to build in some transitions that other people wouldn't throw in a trip report. So I always try to have a unique style and kind of stand out if it's possible. But yeah, that's how it developed.
And how's that being received by your audience? Like, because I think from your first video that you posted back in 2015, you can already see it, and it's slowly been building up. How's it being received by your audience?
I think there are always two parties in that. So the one side is always saying like, oh yeah, I love it. I love that you're trying to create a unique editing style and have music underlying the video and stuff. But then there are also the super avgeeks who say, oh yeah, I want to hear the engine sound and kind of have a raw experience. So there are always mixed emotions about my videos. Some people enjoy it a lot, some people don't, but that's how it goes on YouTube. I try to not get my work affected by the comments all the time. Obviously, you read the comments and try to make the best out of the comments that you receive. But in general, I try to focus on myself and be happy with the videos that I produce. And hopefully a lot of people like it. But if they don't like it, it's fine for me until some point.
Your most watched video, I think, is the Lot Polish Airways Dreamliner experience.
Yeah.
Over 80,000 views. Why do you think that video gained so many views?
First of all, I would say I knew that almost nobody had published a video about it. So there was already like a niche, let's call it a niche market, and I knew nobody had uploaded a video about it. So I was just focusing on producing a relatively good video at that point and hoping for the best. And it's always a gamble on YouTube. You never know if a video performs good or bad. You try your best by having an appealing thumbnail. You try your best with a good description and hashtags and tags in general. Try to have a good search engine optimization score and stuff like that. But in the end, it's luck how YouTube ranks your video and if they promote it to other people or not.
Yeah, the algorithm is it's quite loved and hated by us trip reporters. Hey.
Yeah, just a couple of weeks ago, I had a random video about GetJet Airlines getting a couple hundred views within an hour or something. So sometimes the algorithm is doing something crazy that you would never expect out of nothing, even though the video is already like 2 years old, and somehow they decided to, let's suggest it to other people right now.
Yeah.
So it's funny to see sometimes.
How did you actually start at this?
My whole YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I guess I saw a video and then I just recorded something, threw it out on YouTube, and then I saw, oh yeah, some people are actually watching it, and then my life kind of went to that in the direction where I had to fly a lot, or where I was able to fly a lot, and then I just used the opportunity. I was always into video editing, or I liked watching great cinematic videos, and I just combined it, and I love it until today. And let's see where everything goes from now.
Mm-hmm. And who, like you already mentioned a couple trip reporters. Who were your inspiration to make these videos?
So I wouldn't say that a lot of people or aviation trip reporters inspired me in the beginning. I was just interested in aviation, and I pretty much watched every single trip reporter out there. I guess in the very beginning, there was a YouTube channel that is not uploading anymore. He's called Never Not Flying. He's also from the Netherlands, I guess. Yes. And he had a pretty unique style for back then, and he was producing some amazing videos, in my opinion. So he was probably the biggest inspiration as a trip reporter for me.
He's the guy with the stickers as well, right?
Yeah, he is the guy with the stickers.
I remember those. Yeah. I haven't seen a video of his for quite a while.
No, I think he hasn't published anything in the last year, or maybe 1.5 years. Like, he threw out some videos here and there, but back then, like 3 years ago, he was even bigger than Century and Simply Aviation and all of them. Mm-hmm. Because he had some crazy good videos about KLM or Emirates First Class, and I enjoyed it a lot.
Maybe we can get him on the podcast to see why he's
not
uploading
for sure.
Anymore. Yeah. So we've spoken about your style of videos. You're experimenting. Like, what does it look like for you going through the airport and going to the plane? What kind of things do you do, or like rituals do you have when you're making your videos, when you're recording it?
So it already starts back home. So usually if I have a flight booked weeks before the flight, I already start thinking about how do I start the intro or the video in general. Maybe I even write down some sentences that I would like to say in the beginning of the video, but usually it never ends up with those sentences. But I usually have a plan how I want to produce it, and then I start to find music on Epidemic Sound, and then I already have the music in my head and try to get some footage that could connect to the music and build up on that. I don't have a real plan. I just walk through the airport, look at the people, look at the movement on the tarmac, and try to get as many shots as I can, because you can always delete it. So I record a couple hundred sequences for every single video, and then I cut down everything until the point that I like the video.
Okay. And then when you're making your video, how long does it usually take for you to make like 1 10-minute video?
That's a tough question, because I usually split it over a couple of days, because one day I feel like, I'm super, I want to edit the intro first, because I already have the music in my head, and sometimes in the air, I'm so excited about what I shot that I already start editing the video in the air. So I would say in total, a 10-minute video takes at least probably 5 to 8 hours. I would say, yeah.
I look surprised, but I'm not. But because it takes as long for me as well.
Yeah. It always depends on the video and how much, how basic the video is or not, and how much transitions you're trying to put in. And also then you also have to record the voiceover. So you have to write the voiceover, but I don't count that into editing, I would say.
Yeah. The voiceover part, it's probably what takes longest for me, but that's just because I get distracted with other things.
Yeah. But your voiceovers are way longer than mine. Usually my videos I try to keep them as short as possible, and my voiceovers are not as long and as detailed as yours, for example.
Fair enough. Yeah. I want to talk about one of your experiences, which I think is one of your worst rated videos on YouTube.
I know what you're talking about already.
And so let me just share my screen, and then we don't have to go into like the rating, but I would like to hear from you. What was that terrible experience that you had on United Express? Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Perfect. So so this is your worst rated, or like 50-50. Half of the people seem to be liking it. Other half of the people don't like it. Let's have a short clip here. Watch a short clip here where you talk about your experience.
To be honest, it wasn't as good as it looked until this point. The whole cabin was really dirty and the colors of the seats burst everywhere. And I believe for a price of around $500 for my flight from New York to Halifax, you can expect much more.
So this is a flight from New York to Halifax for which you paid $500.
Yes.
Which is expensive.
Yeah, it was the only option.
But what was so terrible about that experience that you would say, okay, I would never fly United Express anymore?
So in general, it's not about the crew or the service or anything like that. As I mentioned in the video already, like the seats were just, it was old, but that's fine for me totally. But there was trash everywhere. And the worst part about this experience was when you try to go to the bathroom, it's in the very back. And then you try to close the door and the door was open. So you couldn't close the door. And so people were trying to go to the bathroom, but couldn't go to the bathroom because the door was broken. And then in there, everything was kind of, it was dirty as well. And the colors of the walls were also going down and stuff like that. So it's definitely not a super terrible experience, but it was just not comfortable to sit in the seat with trash in front of you and then try to go to the bathroom and the bathroom is broken. Just small things added up, and then I just made a video about it. Maybe I should try them again in the near future. So yeah, it was not about the in-flight service or anything. It was just the appearance of the aircraft that was in a terrible condition, in my opinion.
Would you say that what you saw on the screen, that doesn't justify the actual experience on board?
I would say that I just recorded some parts that made the experience how it was. Obviously, I could have recorded the bathroom that was broken and you were not able to close the door and stuff like that. But I tried to keep it as short as possible and not make a huge deal out of it. But in the end, the title, I guess, distracted some people from viewing it without an opinion before about watching it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know about it. I could have recorded more about the actual bad experience, but I'm not a person that tries to create a huge drama out of everything. So it was just one video in my life so far where I judged an airline, but yeah.
I mean, part of being a trip reporter is giving feedback to an airline, I would say, so that they can use it to improve their service. So like the Embraers, the ones that you flew on for this video, they are pretty old. So it's hard to make a justified judgment here, whether something is good or whether it should be replaced, right?
Yeah, in general, I just enjoy modern aircraft more than the old ones, to be honest. Mm-hmm. So that's why I was creating this video. And it's not like usually all the avgeeks enjoy having the raw experience with older aircraft because they have good memories with it. But I never flew on it before, and I probably will never fly on it again. So I'm just a fan of super clean and nice looking cabins.
Fair enough. I want to talk about the gear that you're using, because you made a video last year where you were talking about your gear in 2019. So let's go watch a quick clip here of of that video.
Yeah, see it.
Cool.
What's up everyone, and welcome to another fly around video. In today's video, I'm gonna feature the question, what is in my camera bag in 2019?
So, back in 2019, you made this video on what's in your camera bag. What's in your camera bag today?
I would say not much has changed, except 2 more lenses that I added to my camera equipment, because back then I think I only had the regular 12 to 60 millimeter lens that you get when you buy the Lumix G85. Mm-hmm. And I added a 25 millimeter lens and one 100 to 300 millimeter lens to have a better variety and to get different angles while recording the videos. Mm-hmm. I still use the GoPro Hero 5 on a suction cup. The quality isn't the best and I don't like using it, but it's just the only way to record a takeoff and have a stable image. I still use the same microphone. So it's for trip reports, it's not all about the equipment, but I enjoy having a lot of equipment with me all the time. I don't use it all the time. Also, like the stabilizer, for example, I don't use it a lot while traveling because it always takes some minutes to have everything set up. But sometimes for more creative or cinematic videos, I always use it because it just creates the best image possible.
Yeah, because for the people who haven't seen the videos, what is it exactly? What you have? The camera?
I have a camera gimbal. It's just something you hold in your hand, and it just balances the camera to the limit, and then you can move the camera around and it doesn't shake anymore. So
nice.
That's pretty cool to have sometimes.
That's pretty neat. And what would you say is still on your list to upgrade with?
My camera, for example, it's still expensive. Back then it was probably 950 euros, and obviously there are cameras that cost around 2,000 to 4,000 euros, and mm-hmm. they just produce better videos. For example, my camera, I always record on 1080p with 60 frames per second. I would love to have a camera that records in 1080p and 120 frames per second, because, as I said before, I'm a fan of slow motion, and if you have more frames per second, everything is just more smooth. And maybe one day I'll upgrade, but for right now, I'm happy with what I have, and I try to get the best out of my equipment, and I use it until it's broken, I guess.
Yeah. Something I like to talk about in my podcast is more for people who want to start becoming a trip reporter. What would be advice that you would give to someone who's thinking about starting their own channel?
Just start. So back then, in the very beginning, it was also on a phone, because in the end, you just have to record as much as you can. Throw it into an editing program. Every computer nowadays has a free video editing software that you can use, and just start, record as much as you can, and then try to create a unique video out of it and throw it out on YouTube. And just in general, it's more important that you are happy with what you produce and not what other people think about it. So just start and be happy about it.
That's nice advice. I think that's pretty much what I hear from most of the people that I've been talking to here on the podcast. Just starting is probably the best thing to do, because it doesn't matter what you produce today, because you can only go better, right?
Mm. Usually people, or even myself, come up with excuses. In the very beginning, I was also coming up with excuses why I'm not talking in the camera and why I'm not showing myself. And in the end, if you start it will get better every time you do it. And yeah, just start and produce content.
Mm-hmm. How would you describe the type of viewer that watches your channel?
It's usually people, definitely more male than female viewers, obviously. And I guess people watch my videos because I try to create a unique video out of the trip report experience. Um, my videos are usually short and on point. I try to edit everything out that I feel like is not necessary in a trip report. For example, most of the trip reporters have the whole takeoffs and landing videos in their videos, and I usually speed them up. Some people hate it, some people like it, but I'm a fan of more fast-paced trip reports.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
definitely more male than female.
the fun fact about the TAP Portugal video, after 1 or 2 weeks, over 75% were female on that video. I have no idea, and it never happened to me again. But on that video, more female than male have watched my video.
I think mine is like 98% male on all of my videos.
I guess, yeah. Usually I have like 89% male and 11% female. And just that one video completely fell out of that usual, look on my channel.
Cool. I want to move to the questions from viewers. As you know, each week we ask our audience on Instagram and Twitter to share some questions for the guest that we have this week. I always announce the next guest on my Instagram and Twitter, so do make sure to follow me there as well. I will make sure to leave the links for my social media accounts in the description. We've asked you to send in some questions for Julius for Fly Around, and we'll make sure to answer those today for you. Let's start with the first question coming in from Shahid on Instagram. And he's asking, what got you interested in flying?
Oof. It was, I guess, in general, it's just that I enjoy experiencing new countries, seeing new cultures. And then it turned into a bigger hobby because I also found an interest in airplanes and stuff like that. I became an avgeek, and now it's just a part of me, and I love flying around the world as much as a lot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the next two questions actually tie pretty much also into that. When and why did you start to love aviation? Which is asked by plane_lover2, and Kevin Lou 00 is asking what brings you into aviation.
I believe actually there is one turning point in my life. I don't know when it was, but I believe it must be around 2012 or 13 or something like that, where I had an internship that I had to do in my high school. And I made it at Lufthansa Technik here in Hamburg for 3.5 weeks. And I was working on with them hand in hand, and I was able to go into many different private and commercial aircraft during that time. And since then, my passion became bigger and bigger for aviation in general.
That's so cool. Do you want to share some more about that experience?
So I was back then, I was just looking out for internships, and there was one of the companies here in Hamburg where everybody knew this is a good company, and I just wanted to go into that. I had no expectations. And during that time, I was split. One week I was more with the commercial aircraft. I was able to go into a Lufthansa A380 for the very first time, while they were retrofitting or putting in the business class for the first time. And then I was also able to go in some private Boeing 747 from some rich people around the world. And it was just so cool to be up close to such huge aircraft for the very first time. And I think those experiences got me into it, because before my internship, I had no knowledge about how everything works and stuff, and how everything looks from up close, and it just got stuck in my head, and now I'm a full avgeek.
Nice. That's very awesome. And I think the next question ties into that as well. Also a question by plane_lover2. Is your future dream job to be part of aviation, or is it just a hobby?
That's a difficult question in my opinion, because right now I study something completely different that has nothing to do with aviation. But it's undeniable that I love aviation and traveling, and maybe there's a chance in the future to work with airlines or for airlines to produce media content or something like that. So I wouldn't say that I'm dreaming to become a pilot, because that ship already sailed, I would say. But I love aviation, and to work with airlines, probably that would be a cool opportunity for me in the future. But my future is not set yet, and I will see where the wind takes me, and I'll let you guys know in a couple of years.
What about getting your private license?
Maybe that's an option. Yeah,
Fair
I
enough.
see a lot of people are doing it right now because they have so much time. Actually, the father of my best friend has a private license, and a couple of years ago he was always flying on the Cessna. And he took us one time. That was also a super cool experience. And then maybe I'll do it in the future, but I don't know yet.
Cool. Next question is from One World Flyer. Who is your favorite trip reporter other than yourself? I think you asked this question recently on Instagram. Did you get a lot of responses?
I got a lot of responses. And there was one guy from Netherlands called Robin. He said it's a channel called Vuelogs. That's definitely the best YouTube channel and definitely my favorite trip reporter. And I guess if One Word Flyer asks me, he wants to hear that his channel is definitely my favorite YouTube aviation YouTube channel. But to be honest, my favorite trip reporter right now is Sunspotter, because of his unique style of doing the voiceovers. I think he's a super funny guy, and I think you should get him on the podcast as well. I think he's a super fun guy to have a talk with.
Cool. Yeah, I do really like his videos. So if we can get him on the podcast, that'd be fantastic. Next question is from Delta Bravo Tango. He sends in questions pretty much every week. So thank you very much.
Perfect.
He's asking how to gain subscribers.
Tough question. If I had a recipe for you, I would have over 100,000 subscribers already. In general, my channel is only growing when I upload videos consistently to YouTube. Right now, I upload a video maybe every 2 weeks, or I try to upload every single week. But if you want to grow, upload at least one video a week at a set time on a set day, and try to engage on every social media platform with your subscribers. Try to build a connection to your viewers, and then subscribers will come, and then channel will grow.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you recently tried, actually, that was yesterday, your first premiere. How did it go?
It was super fun. I thought maybe 1 or 2 people join and don't write anything in the chat, but in the end we were probably 10 people or 11 people max, and everybody was engaging. We were chatting with each other. Even you joined for the premiere, and it was a great experience. And if the video is long enough, I will definitely do it again. I think if you have a 3 to 6 minute video, the premiere function is useless. But if you have a video that's over 10 minutes and people have enough time to actually join the premiere, it's a super fun experience, and I can recommend it to everyone.
Yeah, just maybe not do it at 2 a.m. my time.
I
Because
mean,
I should be editing at that time.
yeah, I just sorry for that. Next time I'll schedule my video release later or earlier.
Next question is quite a long one from Bob Cantor, who sent me a private message for this one. He says, I have a question about the thought process of being an avgeek. I can understand the appeal of travel. I can even understand the appeal of flying, traveling at high speed, arriving in a different place, etc. But most of us don't generally care what equipment we're flying on, or often which carrier, and certainly not what delivery is. and what the safety card looks like. Avgeeks do care. I guess there are others who are train geeks or bus geeks. What's the appeal? That is such a fantastic question.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What is the appeal, Julius?
So basically, he mentioned everything already. Usually when people try to go to a different place, they go on a website or just go to a website and book a flight. And an avgeek or me, I go on a website and look at all the flights available. And then first I check the prices. And then I try to see how much money I can spend. And then I go through all the flights available and check all the equipments that are available. And then, the excitement for this booking process is already huge. And then you arrive at the airport and then you hope that everything works out and you actually get the aircraft that you booked. And then it's also the right seat. And it's just pure fun, in my opinion.
See, Bob, thank you so much for this question, because both Julius and I are glowing now. Just talking about this makes us happy.
Yeah, I'm already excited about going to a website and book a new flight right now.
How long does it usually take for you to book a flight?
I mean, probably this process I was describing the last 2 minutes. Usually takes at least 30 minutes or an hour probably. And then I also check other trip reports on YouTube, obviously, to check out the service. Usually for that occasion, I watch Simply Aviation. I skip to the seat and I check the service and everything. I just want to make sure that I get the best experience, and then I'm excited to fly and then also produce a cool video about it.
Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, sometimes it can take me weeks to book a single flight, just to have a complete itinerary with where everything fits and flying different aircraft and airlines.
I mean, obviously it can take weeks if you're super specific. But also what I think is pretty unique about avgeeks, that usually people would always take the shortest connection time, like hopefully book a direct flight. And we are always thinking about, but if I have 2 stops here and there, you can fly on a different airline and a different aircraft that I've never flown on before and stuff like that. This is just pure craziness for some people, but that's what we do and what we enjoy the most, right?
Fair enough. Yeah, that's very well said. Now, finally, we are getting to the last part of the podcast today. I don't know. You've seen all the podcasts so far, so you know what's going to happen. Like we do with every guest every week, is testing the knowledge on what they know about planes and if I can identify the type of aircraft. And today's photos, just like I think in the first podcast, are supplied by Josh Waddle, a young plane spotter here from Edmonton as well. Thank you so much for helping me out getting the podcast ready with all your fantastic photos. I do have a surprise for you as well. Please DM me your address so I can send you one of these as a small thank you gift. Anyway, currently Alex Berglowski took over the lead from Billy from Gilbert Travels last week. Currently, he's at 16 images that 16 planes that he guessed right. Then second is Billy still with 13. Jeb Brooks had 12 correct images, and Blake is still on the bottom, unfortunately. Sorry, Blake, with 8. Maybe you should come back to the podcast sometime to improve your score. Anyway, Julius, how confident do you feel that you're gonna get them right?
I would say I definitely feel confident about beating Blake. If I have more than 8, I'm already more than happy, and then I try to move on from that point. But I am hoping for at least 10.
At least 10, cool. Yeah. Let me share the screen, and then on my old phone, I'll get the time route. There you go. Can you see the logo?
Yes, I see the logo.
Perfect.
Okay. Last week was the first time where it was actually super tough because of the crop that whoever took the photos.
Mm-hmm.
Like the weeks before was pretty easy. But last week was actually pretty tough, and Alex did a fantastic job.
He did do a fantastic job. Yeah. We didn't crop him today, so don't worry about this.
Good for me.
Although
I just need more than Blake. That's all I need.
You hear that, Blake? Cool. So if you're ready, then we're going to start the timer and show the first photo.
I'm ready.
Cool. And then when I say go, we'll start. 3, 2, 1, go.
Boeing 737-800.
Yes.
777.
Yep.
A320.
Yep.
A340.
Yes.
Antonov 225.
124.
Nah, yeah. Okay, sorry. And that's an A320.
Yep.
That's A310.
Yes.
Oh. That's a 777.
Yes.
Next one. Next one. ATR 72.
42.
42. Oh, come on. Embraer 175.
Yes.
A330.
Yep.
Next one.
Time. You got 9.
Yeah. Blake, thank you for having 8.
So that places you 4th on the leaderboard currently, just above Blake. Well done. You did better than Blake.
Yeah.
Like, here's an open invitation to you for coming back to the podcast sometime soon. So
I enjoyed it.
Yes.
But I'm honest, I was super nervous before that part of the podcast.
That's good. Well, you did right. You did well with 9 with 9 planes guessed right. Thanks again, Josh, for supplying the photos today. I'll send you one of these, so make sure to DM your address, and then we'll get you one sent to your home. Julius, how did you like the podcast?
I love it. I think you created something great here on YouTube. We needed something like this because we always watch the videos of all the trip reporters, but we don't get to know the people behind it because they just go to the airport and edit everything out that they don't want in the video. And now we see the raw experience, or we see how the people actually are and how they laugh about it and how the experiences are, and not edited into a short video.
Who would you like to nominate on for a future podcast episode?
As I mentioned before, I want to see Sunspotter 100% because I believe he will be super funny in the podcast, and I will enjoy watching it.
Yeah, I really hope he can make it to the podcast. That would be really, really cool. Cool.
Hopefully that works out.
Yeah. Well, Julius, thank you so much for joining us today. I had a blast. I hope you did too. And
I had a blast as well. Thank you.
Cool. Since I am out of trip reports to show on my channel, we're going to hopefully move to a weekly podcast from now on until we can get back into the air. So next week, we'll be back with another podcast on the channel. So thank you very much for watching this podcast episode. And I hope to see you. I hope that you're joining me for the next one next week. Bye.